million, which is about $1 million less than what the budget was predicted last year at this time. Now, commissioners may be tasked with suggesting some ways to acquire additional revenue to pay for some of the items that are not included in this initial budget that some people around the county see as must-haves. Constitutional leaders have presented some ideas as well. The chairman's budget does not include raises for first responders, does not include funding to staff full-time firefighters. You straighten me out in a second here, all right? Does not include funding to staff full-time firefighters at this new Tyus Carrollton Road Fire Station, or for a new attorney for the district attorney's office. Pete Scandalakis in the past has called his need at this time critical. We're going to talk about that initial budget proposal and how Smith does come to these findings. There are some things under the charter where he's restricted on what he can put together initially, but this will all be worked out over the next month or so as the commissioners, all 5 of them, get to voice their input and talk about what their districts need and have to figure out what can stay in and what can go out. And if there are ways, if extra revenue is needed to be generated, they're going to have to figure out how to do that as well. So, again, we'll start off talking about that initial budget. And to do that, we have Carroll County Commission Chairman Marty Smith.
Good morning, Colin.
Good morning, pal. Appreciate you coming in to talk about this. It's, even me, you and I talking about this the last month, there were some things that I thought I understood, which you straightened out to me. I mean, this is all off the record. I didn't dare say anything on air about being wrong, but just talking to you back and forth, you've educated me plenty on this whole process. I guess talk about last year's budget, how you got to those numbers, and then how you do go through that process of presenting this initial budget, which, again, is not the approved budget. It'll be changed plenty over the next month.
Okay, just in your opening comments where you said there was no money put in for any first responders and all, there is actual 2% in my budget across the board cost of living for every employee.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that's right, because I did get a few phone
Sorry
calls
about
when
that.
you'd mentioned that. That's okay, and there is. It's an education process. You said you've learned in the last few weeks things, and you've been carrying and covering county government for many, many years, but a lot of people do not understand the charter. And it is kind of our Bible that we have to go by. But one thing, you can't pick and choose out of it what you want to use. We try using everything. County clerk, all the way to our attorneys, we look at it every day to make sure we're following protocol. And I've even had to readdress and look at this individually with every board member. But when you say we cut the budget $1 million from last year, all that's done is we got a new financial director. It's in place this year, Lehman Stevens, that is very, very aggressive in county government. That is his background. He's done a tremendous job coming in the first 8 months of finding ways to manage the county and the finances. My background is not finances. I rely heavily on a numbers guy, and that's why we brought him in. The guy that used to do our finances, that was in that position, Don Johnson, controller, did a very good job maintaining and watching the money, but we were not projecting, we were not forecasting. So if you look at the budget, all we have done over the last 5, 6, 7 years, even before I came into office, the budget was over forecasted in revenue. So therefore, every year we had to keep expenditures down below that. So we had over $1 million stated in actual revenues. So what we feel like this year is we've got a true grasp of what the revenues are going to be. With that being said, it's taken 4 years to get there. I think this is I'm in my 5th year now, starting there. It's taken that long to go through this process. But what people don't understand is when I present a budget, it does not allow me to put all my wish list, everything my department heads want. I'm going to read it right here. It's Section 14, Article B. The chairman shall serve as budget officer for the county. The chairman shall, subject to the board, no later than the regular May meeting of each year, I have to present a revenue estimate. So I have to go on what is going to be estimated that's coming in for the following year and a proposed budget governing the expenditures of all funds that are expected to be available. That's not a tax increase. That's not changing anything. We're taking actual revenue and matching expenditures for me to present a proposed budget.
But if you were interested in doing a millage increase or anything like that, you could not put that in that initial budget?
No, sir.
Okay.
It says expected available. Not what I'm expecting the board to vote on, not what I'm expecting to do if we make changes. I've got to take what is on the books as expected revenue, match expenditures, and that gets us the balanced budget that the charter requires. At that point, the charter goes on to say you'll also include capital outlay and public works projects. Our budget does not include those. We've always done those because we've had a SPLOST, so we do those projects out of SPLOST. But then the charter goes on to say, the chairman shall submit to the commission at the time of the proposed budget is submitted a report containing information relating to the financial affairs of the county which is relevant to establishing the annual budget. That is where my list comes in, where department heads have met with me, constitutional officers have met me, and I give them a report saying here are items that we need to consider, because that is a board decision for us to work together. Not me individually, not the board individually. It is at least 4 people that will have to vote to make changes to a proposed balanced budget. Do we want to do certain things? Do we want to add things? Do we need a new ambulance? Do we want to change the health care procedure that we're going through? So that's where people get confused on, why didn't you just include all that to begin? Well, the charter that was put in place in 1989 does not allow that. I have to start balanced, and then we as a team, as a board of commissioners, build that budget over the next 30 days. So I submit it May 1. That gives us 30 days to get to June 1 to where we'll vote on it. And that gives us 4 weeks to sit out as a team, and we, break down the budget and see what we need to do to add. So that kind of gives you the history of the charter that a lot of people don't want to take the time to learn, read, and figure it out.
And you pointed out that I said there were no raises for the first responders, and I could have worded that better. It's because their request is additional. I mean, they're looking for some big funding to put in there, and I should have put additional.
Colin, we all know that was derived from the state. The governor gave a 20% pay raise to some public safety, state patrol in some areas, and obviously that has trickled down. The sheriff has met with me. We have a great sheriff. He's great to work with, but his budget, he is chasing the law enforcement. As you know, they're being targeted. It's not a market that people are just jumping in. They're getting out of. So he is facing, we do not want to compromise the safety of Carroll County. But when we look at the sheriff's department, we always look at our fire department as well, because that is what we're challenged with as a board, is public safety for Carroll County is one of our first responses.
That's government.
And that is baseline government. And it's why we started with the rebuild of 911 Center and put funds there, because that's the heartbeat. And that's where we start with our budget and working out. So, yes, there is money included. The sheriff actually came and laid out a 4-year plan. And we were able to meet that in my budget to make it balance his first-year goal. At this point, it doesn't include years 2, 3, and 4. For us to get those goals down, we as a board are going to have to sit down and make some tough decisions on where we want to go. So from there, I can tell you things that we have done to get where we are. I can kind of tell you where we're headed, or whichever direction you'd like to go.
And I brought that up, though, before that statement, just because there is a list of things that you pointed out were not included, but commissioners should consider. They're not ones you recommend, and I don't know if you're allowed to say that you recommend them based on the charter.
It says in the charter for me to make it relevant to them.
Okay.
I actually had the constitutional officers speak at a public forum, because that gives them their opportunity to make sure the board knows, in case no one can ever say, Marty, you didn't fight hard enough for me. I give them the opportunity, and then we go on to the district attorney that has struggled. As you know, we've added 2 court judges in the last 5 years to Carroll County.
And there was discussion about breaking up that district.
Absolutely. But now with the other ones appointed here, I don't even think that's an option now, and would work, is what I've been told at the state level. So we need to concentrate on what we need to do right here.
And that's because Carroll County puts more people in the courts, right?
It is, it's amazing. The sheriff does a great point. We why arrest all these people if they're going to be sent to court, and that they're understaffed and overworked, and can't, if you can't meet that 1-year deadline to get them in the judicial system, you have to write them and sign them off. There's no sense writing the tickets and putting them there to begin with. And I tell you, the last thing I think this board wants is to drive by the courthouse and see people standing out here picketing as violators and being violated, and people saying that they're not handling our court system. So there's the big decisions to be made this year. So the DA came, and of course, when you talk to the DA, the public defender needs to be caught up just as much. And so it's a tandem, because they all offer both sides of the judicial system. You can't just finance one.
In that circuit, there's 5 counties, right? But Carroll County, there's top 2. As far as, so that's why the responsibility kind of does fall on us.
It does, and it's not on top of that. If you look at our court cases, he did a very good job Pete Scanalakis did a great job presenting the information, showing us how our cases, I don't know if it's the quadrant we live in, it's close to Alabama, the west of Atlanta, or what it is, but our numbers that he is seeing for court cases for the size of our county, we've got more than like Douglas County, more than counties larger than us in population. We have more court cases, and he's having to handle more. So if that's the case, we don't want them standing outside the courthouse with picket signs. We're going to have to face the music here and determine what we're going to do. But my goal is to show, this year out here, I've been in office 4 years, things that we have done as a board. I've gone through, and it's, some people say, well, you had to use a consultant. You have to realize that even the board members and myself, you come in with no government experience. We've run businesses, we've been part of organizations, and we know how to get along. But the two top things that I ran on was to cut wasteful spending and unify the county. Well, I think we've done that. There was not a lot of wasteful spending in here. Prior to coming in this morning, I did show you and sent you the form. Our revenues in 2008 were $47 million. Last year, we got back to $47 million. Almost 10 years later, we're seeing the revenue that we saw in 2008. I don't know of anybody that are, Tanner Medical, Southwire, anybody you talk to that are charging the same price they were charging in 2008. Tanner Medical, their birth rate, Carroll County is growing. But even the year before last, we were down to $45 million in revenue. You can't make revenue happen. We did do the reassessment that had not been done in 17 years. We had people say, well, you're going to make a lot of money off that. Unfortunately, the schools made money. Each municipality did a good job and made money and to help their budget. But the county has what's called a floating homestead exemption. And keeping that in place, the county did not net much money off the reevaluation. But for once in 17 years, our books are balanced, and we know where 50,000 properties should be on the tax digest. So it did catch us up and get us balanced to where we can get a true look at our budget for one time and know what revenue is coming off that.
Now, you mentioned 2008. I got to take a break here, but you mentioned 2008. Was that the year of the mill rate increase?
There was a mill rate.
And that was the last time Carroll County.
2007.
So it affected
took
in 2008.
effect in 2008.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I just want to point that out before we get to the break, because we will talk about discussions. There are discussions for a mill rate increase this year. It's not guaranteed. Doesn't mean it's definitely going to happen, but it's been brought up by a couple of commissioners and even the new financial director.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that after we take our first break. Right now it's 8:42. Our guest this morning is Carroll County Commission Chairman Marty Smith. Our show program is brought to you by Tanner Health System here on News Talk 1330 WLBB.
Need help finding something healthy to eat? Tanner Health System has an app for that. Minuit helps you find healthy food options on the go. The smartphone app is powered by Tanner's health experts, who teamed up with restaurants across West Georgia to make it easier for you to choose healthy food and eat better. Minuit acts like your personal nutrition assistant, showing you the healthiest items on the menu. So when you're not sure what's good to eat, Minuit. You can even use the app to look up recipes and plan healthy meals at home, and modify your options based on nutritional preferences, such as a low-sodium or vegetarian diet. Minuit and Tanner Health System, making it easier to eat healthy and live well. A healthier lifestyle is only a fingertip away. Minuit is free to download on your Apple or Android smartphone. You can download it today by searching Minuit in the App Store or on Google Play. Learn more about Minuit at gethealthylivewell.org.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice Program. Our show brought to you by Tanner Health System, 8:44, just about 15 minutes before 9 o'clock on this Friday. I'm your host, Colin Worthington. Our guest is Carroll County Commission Chairman Marty Smith, talking about the budget. Budget talks going on till this budget is due at the end of June, last day of June. It has to be accepted and approved and put in place by July 1st. So we're talking about it with Marty Smith, Carroll County Commission Chairman. What are some of the before the break? We had talked about some things that commissioners can consider to put in this budget to generate money. I guess give me some examples of some things you guys have done over the past 2 years, 3 years or so, and then some things they can consider to put in this upcoming budget.
Absolutely. Colin, what we've done is over the 4 years, like I say, we're not sitting here taking credit. This board does not work in this every day. It is my responsibility to show them the expenditures and any possibility of a revenue increase. With that being said, what we've done is I did work with a consultant. We had a guy that worked as a true administrator in government for 31 years over in Coweta County that has come in and worked with me 3 years ago to help write a book from low-hanging fruit to very political type things that we needed to do to help raise revenue. I've done every one of those. He said it was a 5-year plan, and we did most of it in about 2.5 years. And he was excited. He could not believe it. It was not on the front page of the paper, and we didn't make big issues because we went down and sat with every entity that was involved and explained. And I don't think they were any of them happy when you say you're changing their tax structure or how you're going to collect money, but they were impressed with the way we laid it out and the transparency. And that's when you say unify and working with the county, that's what I think we've done. But saying that right there, especially working out of our community development department, we've changed our building permit fees. That's changed it, revenue $160,000 a year. Occupational tax fees. We changed our beer and wine license. We had not changed any of these fees that I'm just mentioned in over 20 years. We don't want to be the highest in the market, but we need to be on a level playing field. With that being said, beer and wine, we're still 12% on average lower than any county that surrounds us, but some people saw up to a 300% increase, so we had to catch them up. Our building permits, we were using $34 a square foot. I wished I could build for that. We're using the International Building Code now, which is now 96 to 90. It's published twice a year, and whatever that code is, most counties just use that as a standard. So we're playing catch-up on a lot of things that have been, not, to me, not looked at. But that comes from the professionalism of using a consultant that has done administration work that knows the budget for 31 years.
No, based on when you put that into place after the consultant's recommendations, how much money on average over how many years has been generated? Obviously, this is other than property taxes.
Exactly. We changed the commission structure, working with both our local, county, and city schools for tax collection. The state charter allows us to retain up to 2.5% to collect that fee for them because they cannot do it. Met with both school board superintendents and did that 2 years ago. Our park fees have changed. Our city tax collection fees are probably going to change this year. I just had a mayor's meeting last week where we had almost 100% participation, but they are all aware of that. And
who wasn't there?
The only one I think that was not there was Bremen. They all had prior commitments, so we updated and showed them. Of course, collecting fees did not affect them because there's only a small part in Carroll County there. We changed the local energy excise tax. We made a change there. We changed the hours 2 years ago in our convenience centers to bring them more in line of what other counties do. Coweta County, none of theirs stay open more than 56 hours. We still retain 3 of ours at 78 hours. So we still offer a service, but we had to change them. And then service delivery strategy for recreation. We were paying for kids from Alabama, different places on borderline and outside the county when our charter only allows us to pay for counties and reimburse the cities for kids participating within the county. So we ran an audit. So we've tightened that up. But as you were asking, when you do all this increased revenue that we've done over the last 3 years, it amounts to about $1.5 million. Without that, we would have
total?
Had to go,
that's not annual.
Yeah,
okay. That's total. That's
annually
significant, right?
That would happen. Yes, that makes a difference. So we've gone through everything this consultant helped to say, here's how you can increase revenue, and we've made every change he's recommended. Now we're to the point. There are no more changes. I met with 2 board members yesterday. I told them we can cut services, and I don't think there's a person in Carroll County. We have a quality of life in Carroll County like no other. For us to promote the Yachios, the Southwire expansions, the new Tanner doctors that come to town, everybody, the Greenway Medicals, SMI, when they want to bring people town, the last thing you want to say, how can you promote a county that is not considered progressive, doing things as the Greenbelt to get a healthy quality of life here, to say that you're cutting services? The county is growing. We have not had an increase in over 10 years. The budget, the revenue has not been there for 10 years, but we have done everything within my visual day to day is to make the changes we've made. Now it's to the point of just looking at any other option for revenue, and that's cutting services or looking at a millage increase. And that's what I've presented to the board on the recommendation of our financial director is here's for us to survive. I've gone to other commissioners. Mr. Alan Poole, he's been a very good supporter, a true mentor of mine. It's up in Haralson County. He's had to raise it 3 times. You have to, Trent North probably said it best. We do it wrong. We set a millage and expect that millage to stay there for the next 20 years, knowing that services cost more, gas costs more. Every tangible thing that my staff uses, from rock from the quarry to paving to striping, everything in 10 years has gone up. But what Trent said, he found a county that is up in Maryland. What they do is sit down as a board. They determine what quality of life and services they want to offer. Then they back into it, and that tells them what their millage rate is going to be, and they lock that in for a minimum of 3 years. And you relook at it every 3. But to set a millage rate low and just say we're going to stay here for the next 20, 25 years, then that tells me you don't want to grow. Carroll County does not want to grow, that we want to just stay balanced. We're still 70% rural. We don't want a lot of mass growth here, but if we're going to promote and work with the Chamber and Carroll tomorrow, and we're going to work for all of our big businesses that are coming here, you can't sit there at a one rate. I think we do it wrong. I think you do. Trent brings a lot to the table when he says you ought to build a budget and back into it and then tell what your millage rate is. So that is on the list right here. When you go through the chairman's report, my recommendation is either the cuts for them, the board, to find services, because I'm not willing to find anything there that I've been willing to cut. And I'm always looking at there's 6 different personalities on that board. There's some that won't, we're adding a wellness plan this year. That's something that will help offset the cost of our health insurance. That's going to be new, but we're not charging the employees. That'll probably have to be looked at next year as a recommendation from our HR department. Do we want, if we're going to ask the citizens of Carroll County to participate, I don't mind asking the employees to participate at a small level too, because it is a venture where we all do it as a partnership.
Back to the millage rate, I think a lot of people would be more open to it. I mean, just knowing that there's not waste someplace else. I think, people, no matter what, people will look at it and say, okay, you're wasting money here, you shouldn't have done that. But I think more people would be open to it. This is, I think, your recommendation from your financial director is 1.5.
Yes, sir.
For a mill increase. And again, don't get freaked out yet. It's not approved at this point, everybody. Looking back 10 years ago, the millage rate increase, and I don't know what it was. I think it was 2 mills, and it ended up resulting in about $6 million being generated. Do you guys have it? Does Lehman have a suggestion of how much money 1.5 will generate?
Absolutely. 1 millage rate on our tax base, now that we've got an assessment and we know what our true tax basis is approximately $2.7 million. So if you take another 0.5%, you're at that'd be 1.3 added onto that. You're looking at an additional $4 million. And for us to add ambulances, for us to give the sheriff and the fire department what they need, we built the fire department because we had over 4,000 homes. As we build the second fire department, we had somewhere around 4,000 homes that are affected by ISO. Every fire station in Carroll County started as a volunteer. We will house out in the new one on Tice Road. An officer will be there, mandated 24/7 at that office. You'll also have a battalion captain. But we knew our goal was to start those as volunteer, just like the other ones. But that initially, just building it, servicing, and putting one man in there and staffing it with volunteers is going to give the ISO credit, because we've got some people are paying $8,000 to $9,000 for their homeowners insurance. By placing that out there in certain geographic areas, it will be reduced.
We're going to take our final break. You're going to come back with about 4 minutes. I want to bring up the potential for a public safety splost, because those discussions are going on. We'll take our final break here. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System.
In sports, when you play to win, you get your game on. Shouldn't the same be true when it comes to your health? At Tanner Health System, we're going to help you get your healthy on. Tanner is leading the way for you to eat better, get fit, manage or prevent diabetes, and live tobacco-free, so you and your family can get your healthy on every day. It all starts at gethealthylivewell.org. Check out upcoming healthy living events and join others in the community taking action to live well every day. GetHealthyLiveWell.org. Tanner Health System's way of helping you get your healthy on.
Need motivation and support to eat healthier, become more physically active, or quit tobacco? Tanner offers free classes to help you get your healthy on. Register today by calling 770-214-CARE. That's 770-214-CARE. Learn more at gethealthylivewell.org.
All right, welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program. Our show brought to you by Tanner Health System. About 4 minutes before 9 o'clock on this Friday, I'm your host, Colin Worthington. Our guest is Carroll County Commission Chairman Marty Smith. Been talking plenty about the potential budget for the year 2017-18. There's a story that I've reported on several times over the last 6, 7, 8 months, getting raises for the firefighters, police department as well. One of the discussions, one of the potential ideas was to start a new SPLOST, a new special purpose local option sales tax, which focuses on emergency responders, would benefit firemen and police, I guess the sheriff's department. However, it would take, initially, my understanding was it would take legislators approving it, taking to the state, and getting that changed to give you guys the option to put it on the ballot to say, hey, people do want to pay this extra cent or half cent or whatever for these salaries. Have those discussions ended, or are they still going on?
They pretty much have come to a halt at this point until we work with the legislation and see if we can make any changes. But right now, we've got a lot of hours. Like I told you when I first started the broadcast, we tried doing everything by the rules, Colin. What we found out, several counties, Haralson County, Coweta, Paulding County was a big one. They passed a fire district tax where you can take those funds and dedicate them just to the fire department. Mm-hmm. So when the sheriff were having huge turnover and we didn't want to jeopardize him, we even mentioned to him and our fire chief, let's look at doing a public safety tax as a whole. Put it on the ballot and let's see if we can go that route. I'll be honest with you. We're 3, 4, 5 years behind on where we need to be already. That just delays it a year, but I was willing to do it to get it out in front of the people. However, what we found out, we've got hours and hours into researching. Our attorneys have found, we've met with the bond attorneys. We thought we were very close to putting this together, but what we found out is if you're going to collect that money, it has to be used for a new service and cannot be used for salary. Well, the sheriff would be adding new men, but he's not really providing anything new. We're still putting out the same fires. We just need more men.
Couldn't add babysitting to the services or anything like that.
Absolutely. We tried even reconfiguring it and naming something to be so gray to the gray, but the attorneys just said nothing fits that mold. Mm-hmm. Our objective now is to determine what do we need to manage this county, and I'm challenging the board to let's look at every one of these to come up with either ideas, but I have, after 4.5 years, have presented everything we can for a balanced budget, and we've made every change within the budget we can. If there's citizens out there that have experience that would love to come sit down and determine, but when we talk about whether you do an increase on the millage, on a $150,000 house, you're talking $90. And I don't know of anybody that I've talked to in the last, I've got letters that have been sent to me, do what is right. Do not compromise public safety. And that's what's driving this. When the governor made those changes, it's driving us at the local level. And we've had a lot of changes at the state level that affect us.
I got about a minute to go, and I know I'm not going to let you respond to this, which is unfortunate, but I think the concern the public is going to have is anytime you raise the millage rate, especially after these reassessments last year, I mean, that's what's going to stick with them. That's what's going to frustrate them.
And it will. And we're not saying we're raising. We're just saying we're looking at every alternative, and relevant to the budget, I have to present any possibility of where money. And that's what my department head on the financial director is challenged. Show us where the revenue can come from.
All right.
And
Marty
right
Smith
now,
is
we did not get a lot of money off the reassessment.
Marty Smith is the Carroll County Commission Chairman and was our guest on this morning's Community Voice. Appreciate you stopping by. Could have talked for another hour about this.
Absolutely,
about the budget.
And I hope we can come back again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening this morning, everybody. Have a great weekend.